You don't invite.
Then we test our rules. That way, we're walking through a corridor. We see, we see a little kid just prancing around.
Okay.
And then what do? Do we investigate, or do we say that is not our business and walk away?
Hi, I'm Caitlin.
And I'm Charlie.
And welcome to Outsmarting the Shadows, where we help you survive horror movies.
Yes, we do.
So,
That we do.
we have so much to unpack right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's about the movie.
Yes, we just came from the theater.
Well, yes, but it's also about the day.
Yes.
So, all day, we have been at an antique show. It's not a show.
No. Today was kind of like an antique gathering, if you will.
Yeah, a bunch of vendors.
Mm-hmm.
We love old timey-wimey stuff. I think we're both secretly hoping that we find something that's haunted.
Yes.
Like,
I wanted to get the doll, and you didn't want to.
No, I'm not going to get some creepy doll. He wants to put it on our
saw
set.
like an 1800s porcelain, like the porcelain head sewed to a kind of like raggedy body. I wanted to get it, kind of like to put it right here, in a glass little enclosure.
He wants to just hope for the best. Hope for the best.
Yeah.
And I'm not like that. I want to be sure that if it is haunted, it's,
Well, my original idea was to get the doll, right?
Okay.
Put it in a little circle with some candles, right? Get a little Ouija board, and like that movie say, talk to me, and then we invite you in. That was my idea, but
we've been together for so long, and this has been your dream.
Yes.
From the very beginning.
Yes.
And
I'm a skeptic. I do not believe. I want to believe.
But you want to believe in the wrong way. You don't want to believe by seeing a miracle or something. You want to believe by like inviting a demon in and just hoping for the best.
See, it doesn't have to be a demon. I want it to be an 1800s 9-year-old boy. Right?
Why?
That died of the plague or something like that, just so, he can walk around and, play with the goats.
Okay, first of all, the plague was not in the 1800s.
Okay.
Okay. Secondly, why would we want a demonic child in our life?
Well, it doesn't have to be demonic.
Baby, it is an undead being. I mean, listen, remember the Annabelle thing? Like, our first, in The Conjuring, okay, our first rule was, that's not smart.
Okay.
You don't
then we test our rules. That way, we're walking through a corridor. We see, we see a little kid just prancing around.
Okay.
And then what do? Do we investigate, or do we say that is not our business and walk away? We have to be in the situation
in order to make
the right choice to see if if the rules actually work.
But that we're more curious than smart. The problem is, the reason why we even come up with the rules is because we're more curious than we are smart. And we're trying to teach ourselves as much as everybody else.
Yeah. Like the rule of just staying quiet.
Oh my God. Okay. So we went to this antique fair. It was amazing. I think I want to do a video of like the craziness that is the antique fair in a few weeks. It's going to be amazing. It's
antiquing.
Oh my God. So in the search of haunted objects.
Yes.
So anyway, so then we decided if we get back early enough, we're going to go see this movie. And at the end of the movie, I was so desperate to talk to you about this. So desperate.
Yes. She was like, no, don't talk to me.
Right.
And the whole car ride was like dead silence. I'm like, can we talk about anything else? Can we put on a podcast to listen? She was like, no. We're not doing anything. You're not talking to me. I'm not talking to you. You're not listening to anything. We're just going to stay quiet and look at the road. I was like, okay, I guess that's what we're doing.
In the history of our whole relationship, I don't think I've been that quiet for that long ever.
Yeah.
I was just so brimming to talk about this movie. So we watched Exorcist Believer. So I don't think that we're going to go into spoilers necessarily right now, but I'm going to give this spoiler disclaimer because I'm not holding back.
Yeah, and the movie came out, you could only see it in theaters from what I understand. It came out, 2 days ago on the 6th?
Yeah.
By the time this podcast is up, it's going to be only 2 days.
Right. So, listen, if you have not seen this movie, stop this podcast right now. Otherwise, you're going to get it all spoiled.
Drive to your nearest
theater and you see it right now. And you're back.
Yeah, and they're back. I mean, they paused. We don't even have to wait.
Okay, so I cannot explain to you how excited I was to talk to you guys and talk to you about this movie.
And Milo over here.
And Milo about the movie. Milo, you're going to be really excited about this. So we didn't even change clothes. We didn't get set ready. We were like, no, we're going.
Let's just record.
So we've seen the first couple of Exorcists, but it's been years.
It's been a while. Yeah. I know that the first one is regarded as the best. The second one, a lot of people hated. And then I think the third one, some people liked it and not.
The third one split the community.
Yeah.
Some people love it. Some people hate it. I chose to go into this with the vague memory of The Exorcist, knowing sort of what it was, but going into it very fresh without any biases from any older films.
Okay.
And I just loved that because this story took me on a journey and I was really ready and willing. My opinion of the movie in general is twofold. Number one, I think it was a great movie, but I think it was a bad horror movie.
Yes.
That's my opinion.
Okay. Yeah, it wasn't all that scary. At least, I'm not sure if the listener or the viewer is going to be scared with this movie, but it wasn't. In the whole movie, I think it had only one cheap jump scare.
Yeah.
And I think that is the only. Well, there was a couple of scares, but that one was kind of like the only one cheap jump scare that was, kind of like, oh my God, there's something, but it turns out to be nothing. It's just really loud, right, really fast, so you can just jump out.
Yeah, and the tension for me was created because I didn't want the characters to die. But it wasn't really created out of fear of the antagonist, like fear of the demon and what the demon could or couldn't do, except in that one scene where I think her name is Sherry, viewer, listener, do you know? Where she
I don't remember their names. Well, I remember the guy, the main character's name.
Vincent?
Victor? It was Victor.
Victor,
yes.
Right. So the mother of Reagan, who was the original girl who was in Exorcist 1, she was the one who was possessed. Her mother was in this movie.
Yes.
And I think her name was either Cheryl or Sherry.
I have no idea.
And I'm sorry. I have this so that I can look up and make sure that I'm remembering it because I'm not great at the characters. But there was one scene where she was in a room with a child who had been possessed by a demon, and that made me tense because I didn't want her to die.
Yeah.
So
are we going to start?
Yeah. Let's just jump into it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So this movie started out, as all great horror movies do, really strong, with a dogfight on a beach.
Yeah, that was kind of weird.
That's true.
Yeah, that was kind of cool. Weird. I find that kind of like, I didn't like all that much. It's like, was it a dog fight or was it just two random dogs fighting? Or was it just one random guy that had two dogs and was like, oh, they're fighting. Yeah, let's look at them fight. I wasn't all that clear. I really didn't understand that scene. And they tried to film it kind of like a jump scare because it's all really quiet. You're going through the credits at the beginning and then bam, really loud dogs fighting all of a sudden.
Yeah.
On a beach. That made no sense.
This movie tried to be artistic.
Yeah, it tried, but it was. I sometimes don't like these scenes in some Hollywood movies, but because you come to find out that it's being set in IT, right? And it's kind of like, okay, this is what people do in IT. It's like dogs fighting.
So this guy, Victor, and his wife are on vacation. And it sort of starts off with her. She's heavily pregnant.
Are they on vacation or do they live there? I'm not
They're on
sure.
vacation.
Oh, okay.
Because he mentions we're going back to the hotel room.
Okay.
And I love that he's taking pictures and she's exploring the market. And then this little kid's like, I've got something for your baby.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. So I got something for your baby, and they go kind of like to these voodoo ladies, and they do kind of like a ritual of kind of like a protection type thing ritual.
Yeah, it's a
on her.
protection
It
ritual
looks really
for her
interesting.
baby.
Yeah, but although in this scene they kind of like, yes, there's this is some voodoo ladies in Haiti, but in reality, like 90% of the people in Haiti, they follow Christianism.
Christianity.
Some form of Christianity. Only like 2% or 2.1% of the population, from what I'm looking, actually practice voodoo or that type of religion. So I was like, okay, yes, but in reality, it would have been kind of like a Christian thing if it's the majority of the population practice Christianity.
Well, I think what they explain in the movie later is that it's sort of a combination of a lot of different things.
Mm-hmm.
At least that was the impression that I got. I don't know anything about that religion. But something that I loved about this film was the intersect between Christianity and other forms of faith to get rid of demons. I just thought that was really cool. And from survival, I mean, it makes sense that people who are not Christian should have the right to get demons out of them.
Yeah. Anyway, they're in Haiti and Haiti.
Yeah.
And there's an earthquake. I think it's 2010-ish.
Yes. So he decides to go to take a picture in the church. She goes back to the hotel. So she's in the hotel room when the earthquake strikes, and she's running down the stairs. The building is practically destroyed, and she gets trapped under rubble while he's coming back to help her, and he sees her trapped under the rubble. And that scene is like really traumatizing. And then they're at the hospital, and the doctors tell him anything we do to save your wife is going to hurt the possibility of your daughter living. And they know they've already decided to name her Angela. So
it's basically you have to choose either your wife or your child.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I know which one you would choose.
Yes.
So
but in this part, they don't show you him deciding. It just jumps to 15, 16 years later, something like that. And, he has a daughter. So you know that, the wife didn't make it.
The wife didn't make it. And what a beautifully shot family that they are. Like, they have really cute kind of relationship.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, they have a really, really good dynamic, and they show kind of like they're in this raggedy house that you can see that it's a fixer-upper, and they're fixing up, or he's fixing up, because you can see kind of like the walls are different colors, but there's ladders kind of like in the way.
Yeah, it's true. And they seem to really care about their life together, and I love that dynamic. Right when he leaves to take her to school, she's trying to convince him to let her go out that night, and their neighbor across the street goes, "Oh, I'll see you at the gym," which is really cute. And then their next door neighbors like, "Bring in your trash can."
Yeah, that part was like, look at this neighbor. I hope this neighbor dies, because I don't like this lady. Listen, this is a trash can. And he kind of like ignores her. It's like, okay, yeah, sure.
Well, then they make a bargain that she's going to bring the trash cans in.
Yeah. So, his daughter.
Yes, his daughter. Yeah. So he drops her off at school, and she meets with her friend Catherine, like right off the bat. And we see that Catherine's life is a little chaotic. She's got a little brother. Her parents are freaking out.
Little sister.
She's getting out of the car, and they're just like, "Okay, bye. We have many things to do."
Yeah.
Whereas, like in his car with his daughter, it's very like clean organization and
talk. Which at that moment, he was kind of like she had a scarf that
was her mother's.
Yeah, it was her mother's, and he asked her, and she kind of like lied to him, and he caught her like, "Listen, don't lie to me. You shouldn't be lying to me." And she said, "Yeah, I was looking through mom's things, and I just wanted it." And
yeah. And when Catherine comes over, the thing that I noted is he goes, "Oh, hey, Catherine," like he knows who her friend is.
Yes, he knows, and it's so weird that a little bit later, that Catherine's parents don't know who this lady is.
At all.
At all. It's like they don't know nothing about their daughter or their daughter's friend. because you can see that they're friends and they've been friends for a while.
Yeah, they've talked about it. So during her school day, she talks to a friend, her name's Shauna, in who sits behind her and is whispering to her what she and Catherine have planned that night. They're going to go out into the woods and do a ritual together to kind of talk to Angela's mom. And the way they shot this, I could barely
I didn't understand anything they said. I understood nothing. Yeah, I understood nothing of what they said.
What I loved about this movie is, to me, the way that they shot it, they kind of introduced creepiness into a lot of the sound and the motif, and like that it really creeped me out.
Yeah,
it was really nice.
Now, in this movie, by this point, when we get to this scene, it's been like 30 minutes of the movie. So the movie is slow.
Yeah.
It is not like The Nun, where the first movie of The Nun, where it's like quick supernatural stuff. Here it is, bang, bang, bang. Let's keep on going with supernatural stuff. This is kind of like a slow, it's character development type of story where it takes its time to get up to possession.
Survival tip, okay? Mm-hmm. Going back to some of the staples of survival, you have to have solid relationships with your family.
Yeah, that's another thing. Talking about that, I remember that when it finished, I told you, this is going to be a really hard movie because everybody did everything right.
Right? Everybody does.
Except for her friend's father at the end.
Yeah.
Which we'll get to that. Other than that, everybody did everything right. Yeah. They didn't do any tropes like, oh my God, no. They did like what normal people would do.
Yeah, it's true. And like, even when they make these big mistakes, I'm like, that's a normal thing that a teenager would do. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, so fast forward a little bit, they're going into the woods. And this is
they're going into the woods, and you're like, okay, we as an audience, we still don't know why they're going into the woods.
Right. And then they go down into I think it was like an old building.
An abandoned old building or something.
It's really gross. Like, later when we see the water in there, I was like, that's not
but something in the woods, it's probably going to be gross.
I gotta say, I remember that feeling when I was a kid, when I would find something cool, especially a place that it felt like nobody else knew about. You want to hang out there.
Yeah.
Right? You want to like escape from the torments of being a teenager. And like, it was just a really nice, if it hadn't had such dire consequences, it would be really cool for you and your friend to go and try and talk to your dead mom.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
which then we figured out that they went in there to try and kind of like go into a trance. They didn't explain that all that well how they did it, to kind of like communicate with her dead mom, which she never met.
Right, which she never met. And something that is really, so we've had two characters that have had dead moms. One of them in Talk to Me, and the other one, Angela, whose mom died.
Yeah.
Angela is a far less tortured child than.
Yeah. I mean, she never met her mom. All she knows about her mom is basically what her dad told her, or stories he told her, and pictures that he has, and the clothes that he has. Other than that, she doesn't have any reason to be, tormented.
I would say being tormented, though, is a good way to be susceptible to dangers. If you feel tormented, go get some therapy. Like, really figure out your stuff. Otherwise, demons can possess you very quickly. Yeah.
And according to this movie, even if you have a happy family and you try to communicate, they will get.
They're gonna get you.
They're gonna get you. They're gonna come in and they're gonna possess you.
When this lady is possessed, she makes no decisions after being possessed in the whole film. She's possessed in the first 30 minutes of the movie, and then the rest of the movie is just her being possessed and making no choices.
Yeah.
So there's just nothing she could have done. Yeah. So anyway, the girls are doing this ritual, and then the father, we see Victor, he's going to work, and he takes pictures of families.
Yeah, he's a photographer, yeah.
And you can see that his photography days have shifted from being very artsy to taking pictures of screaming children with their families who are at the children.
In the first shots when they're in IT, you can see that he's kind of like taking really nice pictures, artistic pictures, with his wife. I'm guessing that's also why they went there in that trip, so he could take really cool pictures.
Yeah, I think so.
And now fast forward, you can tell that okay, this has turned into just his 9 to 5 to get some money to raise a child.
Yeah, so he kind of hangs out at work for a little longer than he intended. He goes home and he finds that his daughter's not there.
Yeah, because he at the a little before that, when he left her in school, he said, "Okay, you can go. Just be home
before dark."
Yes, I think he wanted her home before lunchtime or dinner, something like that. No, before dinner. I think it was
before dinner. Yeah. So the girls are missing.
Yes.
And these two families.
So yeah, go ahead.
So these two, it's not just her. Remember, it's Catherine and Angela. So the next thing we see is Catherine and Angela's parents have called. He immediately is calling.
At this point, he starts making all the right choices.
All the right choices.
So she's missing. What do I do? Okay, I call her on her phone. Go straight to voicemail. Okay, what do I do? I'm gonna call the mom of the lady she told me that she was gonna hang out with. Okay, she called the mom. So that mom says, "Oh, she told me she was going to hang out with this other lady." So they're not with that lady. And then the next scene, he's with both parents. Okay, listen, she's not here. She's not here. We're trying to contact her. Let's call the police. Let's start looking for her.
Right? So they called the police. They went to the spot where they last saw the girls, and they're looking.
Yes.
These parents have made all the right decisions to help save their children from demons so far.
Yeah. He's like, okay, I'm going to do everything that and cool note in this part. So the police comes and he finds that little niche in the woods where they were, and they find their backpacks and their
her
necklace, which there's a part where there's a jump scare. He goes to pick up the necklace, and all of a sudden, a snake jumps out. That's a cheap jump scare. It's just kind of like, oh yeah, there's still a horror movie. Stay with us, even though like 30-something minutes have already passed.
Yeah, so the police arrive. They're questioning everybody, and they're getting their investigation underway. During this investigation, remember what Victor does.
Yes.
He asks wonderful questions.
Mm-hmm.
He gives really very detailed information, and he does not freak out at all.
He does not. Not only that, he goes into his scarf or something, I don't remember what, and he saw the scarf that his daughter had, so he just grabbed the scarves and gave it to the police so they would give it to the dogs so they would sniff it so they could find his daughter.
Yes.
He was like on it. He was like, when I saw that, I was like, I wouldn't have thought of that.
Right?
This guy's pretty smart.
He's better than we are. We should have him on the show.
My kid would have died. I would have been like, oh, look, smell this. She just touched it. Give it to your dogs. No, I would not have done that.
Meanwhile, Catherine's dad is freaking out.
Yeah, and Catherine's mom and dad, they're both freaking out.
And
being a little bit of assholes. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're starting to accuse Victor of having a poor relationship with his daughter, because they're like, well, we've never heard of you. And he's like, well, I've heard of you.
Yeah, and your daughter, I know
who Catherine is.
I know all my daughter's friends. We're really close.
We're really close. Yeah. We actually have a connection.
Yeah, we actually have a connection. They kind of start freaking out because, I don't know, they don't have a connection or something.
Right? And then he starts destroying a trash can.
Right? Just throwing. Okay, and then the detective says, listen, let's all calm down, okay? All we want is to, find these girls.
We all want the same thing. So, fast forward, it's clearly been a few days, and they haven't found them at all.
Yes.
You want to shift, buddy? So, we see that there's missing posters up, and he is investigating. Victor is going. He's going to homeless shelters.
Yes, he's going to homeless shelters, asking the people around. This part I didn't really like all that much, because they're like, oh, people that are homeless, it's kind of like the stereotypical homeless, people that don't have homes. Like, they're nasty, they're stinky, and they're kind of like assholes and creepy.
Yeah,
we didn't have to go that route.
I didn't like that they depicted homeless people as being dangerous.
Yes, as being the scum of the universe.
That's not how it is.
Yeah.
So he learns as much as he can. He's definitely listening. He's doing everything that he can. but he hasn't found her. And the next scene, it cuts to a dead horse.
For some reason.
I didn't really understand. I mean, it was creepy that the horse had died.
Yeah.
But I was like, why? And there's this guy with a tractor trying to pick up. It's like, I got to pick up the horse.
Yeah, it makes. I didn't understand that. Because is the horse dead and you're gonna pick it up with a tractor while it's raining? I did not understand that scene.
Well, you can't just leave it there.
Yeah, I mean,
poor buddy.
Yeah. I mean, after this is just side note. After we saw the movie, we decided to see the trailer because I hadn't seen the trailer for this movie.
Yes.
I just went in and just saw the movie, and we figured out that in the trailer for this movie, there are a lot of scenes that show up in the trailer that just they're cut from the movie. They're just scenes for the trailer.
See, I think that what I saw was all the scenes were in the movie, but different cuts of the scenes.
I see.
So they're like, this is really good, but for the trailer.
For the trailer, yeah.
For the trailer.
What about this scene? No, it's for the trailer.
It's for the trailer. So this guy who's trying to fix the tractor, he runs into the barn, and I was like, goats.
Yeah, there's some goats. We like goats.
And it's a beautiful barn. I was like, I want that barn. It's a gorgeous barn, man. It is huge, and all the goats have all. No, I'm not going to talk about the barn. I'll get off on a tangent.
Yeah.
So he goes to get something. He hears something behind him. He opens a door and he sees the two girls just huddled up together.
Yeah, and he
freaks
out. Freaks out and starts calling his dad.
He's a kid.
Yeah, I guess it's raining, and then you see these random girls in the barn just huddling. Where I don't know, you should have a horse. Makes no sense.
So then they fast forward to the hospital, and the scene in the hospital was so well done. It was so realistic. It felt like it worked really well. So the girls are in two separate rooms, and you kind of get this sense that there's something terribly wrong, but you think it's all medical at this point because their feet are all cut up.
Yeah.
They don't remember what happened.
And you can see like Victor, which is the main character. He's doing all the right things. He's talking to the doctor as he's there, talking to his daughter and all that. They're doing medical procedures to see, if
they're checking
if they've been either molested or if they've been beat in any way or just harmed.
What happened. And the girls don't remember anything. They think they've been gone for a few hours, and they've been gone for 3 days.
For 3 days, yes.
So.
And at this point, you see that the neighbor that was fighting with them, or kind of like calling them to put the trash cans in. She's a nurse. She's a nurse. Yes.
Yes.
And at this point, you're like, oh, this lady. But then, from this point on, you're like, oh, this lady's not so bad.
Yeah, she's
really kind.
She's really kind, and she makes a really great comment where she's like, I was just so happy that when they found me.
She's like, I normally don't like to see neighbors when they come or people I know when they come, but I'm really happy that you're here.
She was really happy that she was there. So they determined that the girls may have something wrong where they can't hear each other or not hear. They can't remember.
Yeah, because they think they had a traumatic event, and usually, when there's traumatic events, they kind of like forget they block it out and they have amnesia.
Yeah. So they decided to take them home, and we follow Angela home, and things start to go wrong pretty quickly.
Yes, immediately.
Yeah. So she's home, and her dad, Victor, tries to, get her to, he's brushing his teeth.
Yeah, it's weird. He's brushing his teeth.
This is one of the creepiest scenes in the whole movie.
Yes, it was a really creepy scene. First of all, they never use, I don't know why, they never use toothpaste in movies.
I know why.
Check this out. Every movie you will ever see that they're brushing their teeth. And if you see a movie where they actually use toothpaste, send us a message or write a comment if you're watching on YouTube, because I have never seen a movie where they're brushing their teeth and they're actually using toothpaste. They kind of they just brush and then they spit out as if they had toothpaste. I'm like, what are you spitting out? You have nothing. There's no toothpaste. You never use toothpaste. I mean, I've never actually tried to look if there's toothpaste. Maybe in movie universes, toothpaste is just not a thing.
Toothpaste doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist. They just imagine that they have toothpaste.
Well, I gotta say, I think I know why they don't use toothpaste. So when you and I brush our teeth, you somehow manage to keep any foam you create in your mouth like a gentleman.
Yes, that's how normally people should brush their teeth.
Okay, I would like to have a poll from our listeners about this because I look like a rabid animal. Like I
have all the rabies.
I have all the rabies, and it's just toothpaste just dripping down the sides of the
everywhere.
mouth. It's everywhere.
Yes.
I hold my hair back. I don't know what this is, and I've tried. I've gotten like, okay, I've tried everything, and I don't know how to keep it in my mouth. Like, it doesn't work. And there's got to be actors out there where they're like me, and they're like,
like, God, listen, we can't have these scenes. You look like a rabid dog.
Right. You look.
This is not Rabies the movie. This is a drama.
What's wrong with you? You're like, in 2 seconds you gotta kiss Leonardo DiCaprio.
And could you imagine in a film where they have to do take after take after take with toothpaste? Okay, spit it out now. Clean your mouth. Put more toothpaste. Let's go again. Then after that, okay, cut. Spit it out. Clean your mouth. Clean everything. Put more toothpaste. Try again.
Heaven forbid it's like an enamel issue. Like, eventually you won't have any teeth.
Yeah, could you imagine if there's a scene where they record and you see a shot of the toothpaste? That means in every other scene, the toothpaste, you got to pour it in the exact same way.
Right.
So there's continuity between shots and between scenes. It would be a nightmare.
You would be like the set person who has to come and be like, that's not how it was.
Okay, yeah, that's not how it was. Okay.
I'm going to do the toothpaste.
And especially if they use those toothpaste, there's like blue and green or reds and greens. No, first of all, the red is at 45-degree angle from the right side, and the other side should be white, and it should have a little curl to the top. That way we have continuity between this shot, which we're going to keep, and this other shot, which we have to reshoot.
Right? And what if they have like poor gums? And they start to bleed a little bit from their gums. Like, you know how sometimes in toothpaste, like, you just have that?
And then it's white toothpaste that then turns red because there's blood and everything
red or
in
pink. And they're like, well, now it looks like you're injured and we have to address that.
Right.
In the script.
In the script, yeah. So I guess it's no toothpaste. That's why there is no toothpaste in the movie universe. Right. And there never will be.
Oh, interesting survival tip, I wonder, for horror movies. I wonder if something that can't be in a movie, if you do it in real life, if it's less likely that you'll die in a movie. In like a movie situation.
I don't follow.
Okay, so obviously, like, horror movie scenarios are not 100% real. Mm-hmm. So maybe the rules of shooting a movie might apply to surviving a horror movie. Like, you can't have toothpaste in a movie, so therefore, if you have toothpaste in the real world, you won't get killed in a movie style.
No, but that means that you would never be killed because, I mean, hopefully.
You use toothpaste every time.
Toothpaste every time. I mean, I'm not an animal. I'm never going to go, I got to brush my teeth. Let me not use toothpaste.
Well, what if you just use toothpaste and you're just brushing your teeth if ever anything creepy happens? Just to make sure.
Something creepy is going to happen. Let me brush my teeth with actual toothpaste?
With toothpaste.
Okay.
I mean, you would have excellent gums and teeth.
I guess, if you're possessed, at least they're going to have mildly clean teeth.
You know what? If these girls had brushed their teeth, it might have washed out the demon.
Maybe.
Maybe toothpaste has something to do with how you get rid of demons.
Yeah, but what type of toothpaste?
Well, obviously, mint.
The minty one, or the one that it's all black that has, like charcoal, or
no, it can't be the charcoal one because then your teeth look creepy.
The instant whitening one that whitens your teeth in like 10 brushes.
I think it's the instant whiting one because the cleaner your mouth looks, the less demons are going to be there, right? Like, the thing that creepy, horrible villains and demons have in common is like gross, weird teeth.
Yeah, gross teeth. They don't like cleanliness.
They don't like cleanliness in their teeth.
Yeah, 9 out of 10 dentists approve. Anyway, enough of toothpaste.
Enough toothpaste.
This is not Toothpaste the podcast. It is How to Survive for this movie.
Okay, so he is brushing his teeth and. Sorry, talking about it again.
He's brushing his teeth. In the movie, he's brushing his teeth without toothpaste. I'm not sure if that's clear. Without toothpaste. Okay. So, and all of a sudden, the lights start flickering, and he starts to turn on and off the lights. On and off the lights, right? Before this, so he tucked his daughter in. Which this part was pretty scary because she looked at him.
Oh, wait, she appeared first. So he's turning off and on the lights. The lights go off. They turn on and she's there.
Yeah.
And then he's like,
and he never asked questions. He's kind of like, okay, are you okay?
Yeah.
And she's all weird and stuff.
Yeah. And then he leads her back to bed, which you can see. I love how they shoot this. You can see how far away it is. It's at least 10 or 12 steps.
Yeah.
Just to her room.
And 2 doors.
Yeah.
The door to her room and the door to her bathroom.
So then, like 2 seconds later, he's brushing his teeth.
Nah, but when he tucks her in, she sees like the demon version of herself behind them. They pulled an Insidious in this part. That was freaky.
That was creepy. And then he's brushing his teeth again.
Yeah.
And suddenly the lights go out. They turn back on and she's right there.
She's right there, like turning them on. Which, this is another survival tip. If you have a family member where they're supposed to be in a room and then they're right next to you in seconds, you should ask, how did you get from where you were to right here in less than a second? Would you explain that to me?
Right.
It's like they always turn into Batman and they do the Batman. They're like, I'm here, I'm not.
I would ask you in the most fantastical way possible. I would just ask, when did you get super speedster abilities?
Right? When did you tap into the Speed Force?
Right? When did you tap into the Speed Force? And like, and if you gave me a different explanation, I'd be like, you're possessed.
Yeah, you're possessed.
You either have Speed Force or you're possessed.
Yeah. So, one or the other.
One or the other. So he like is like, oh, that's weird, but you're fine.
Yeah, are you okay?
You all right?
Yeah, let's go. And then she's like, what did you say? I heard you say something. I was like, I didn't say anything. Are you okay? Let's go back to bed.
When we saw the movie Talk to Me, the thing that I wanted to know was, what would a demon do if it actually finally possessed a person? Mm-hmm. Like what's their motivation? And I feel like when a demon actually possesses someone, they don't know what to do in the living world. They start to get paranoid. They start to get crazy. Maybe they want to kill people or they accidentally kill people. But I felt like that was the demon going like, just chill out. Just chill out, Bethulu. Mm-hmm. Like, the demon's name is Bethulu in my head. Like, just be normal. No, he said something.
Yeah, he said something.
I gotta go confront him.
We gotta sock him in the face. Or cut his eyes out because he said something.
Trying to like defy their own urges.
Yeah, and he's like,
be normal.
I said nothing. And there her face is like, oh, yeah, that's right, you did. You said nothing.
Right?
That's right.
The demon version of her. So then we cut. And he goes down, he's trying to see what's going on with these lights.
Yeah, he's like, which another thing normal people would do.
He just does it.
There's something wrong with the lights. You can see that he's kind of like fixing the house. So he's like, okay,
I'm gonna go check the breaker.
I'm gonna check the breaker to see if it works.
I think that this was a bit of a survival snafu, though. If there's anything weird going on, if someone's been kidnapped, your daughter's behaving oddly, I would hold off on going into enclosed spaces with like a breaker, mm-hmm. and instead just sort of say, I'm just gonna wait until it's morning. Yeah, I would do things
because that breaker box, it looked like it needed some work. Yeah.
It did electrocute him and cut his hand. Yeah. Like that wasn't great. But the next morning, man, he's in a good mood.
Yeah, he is.
He is just making pancakes.
He's like, yeah, my daughter's back. She disappeared for 3 days, and she thought it was a couple of hours, but she's home. I'm making pancakes, all the good stuff, and it's like, oh, you haven't woken up. And he goes to the room. Oh, you're still sleeping, and he tries to wake her up, but then he realizes, oh, that she wet the bed.
She wet the bed. And obviously, as a teenager, you don't wet the bed very often, so it's a bit unusual. So he immediately jumps into really good father mode. Yeah. Oh, he's so sweet. He's like, okay. And he just goes into, you've been traumatized, I'm going to help you. So he goes to try and help her into the bathroom.
He turns on the water. Like, stay there. I'm going to
be right back. So he starts gathering the sheets up, and we hear the bathroom door open. Mm-hmm. And she's gone, right?
Yeah. Immediately he goes over. And the water coming out
is like oily.
It's like oil, disgusting,
and he sees
like toilet water.
Yes, and he sees on the rim of the tub
A nail.
Nails.
Yeah. It's just like, oh, that's not good.
And he realizes she's been pulling out her toenails.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So, what does any good father do? He's like, oh, we're going to the hospital.
Well, not before that. He was like looking for her, and then she came behind him, and then just kind of like grabbed him with the scarves and just pulled him and just socked him in the head with the corner of the bed.
Yeah.
And he was like, "What?" I was like, "Jesus, what the hell is happening?" And he's like, "What? What's happening?" And then she starts to kind of like have a seizure. Yeah.
A seizure. And then he takes her to the hospital.
Like a normal
person. A normal, smart person who knows. What would we do differently?
Yeah, there's something wrong with my daughter. I'm gonna take her to the emergency room immediately.
Right? Like we would do the same thing. It just doesn't. Just do what he does. Yeah. Do what Victor does in this movie. So they get to the hospital. They're investigating her. They end up giving her a shot, and he has this heart-to-heart with Paula, his neighbor, and he's like, "Have you ever seen anything like this before?" And she doesn't answer, and we cut to Catherine's story. So we cut to church, which we know is not a good idea.
I think so. In this part, it looks like it's not a priest, it's a pastor, and it's kind of like one of those prosperity churches.
Right. It's a larger congregation. It's a larger church. She is taking off her shoes. In my opinion, I was like, she's going to try and rip her own toenails out. Right. Now, here's what was really odd to me. She looked like death.
Yeah. She looked like she had...
awful.
She looked like she hasn't had a bath in like 2 months.
Right? She was...
Or used toothpaste in her, while she brushed her teeth.
She was awful. And if I was her parent, I would be like, we don't need to be taking her to church. We need to be taking her to the hospital.
And her parents were acting like, listen, calm down. We don't want to get embraced in front of all the people.
A scene.
Yeah.
The
Meanwhile, I really like that her brother and sister, her siblings, they were terrified of her.
Totally terrified.
Like these kids, they had no speaking lines, I think, in the whole movie. Other than in the first scene when they're fighting. Other than that, they don't speak at all. They just terrified of her. And then after this scene, we never see them again. Yeah. We don't know if they left them with grandma or... they just left them alone in their house. We don't know what happened.
We see them after the scene.
Really?
Yeah, I'll tell you about it.
Okay. I forgot.
You forgot. So the congregation is actually the pastor is talking about her, saying, "Oh, we're so happy that she's returned safe and sound." She leaves. She gets up and she goes into another room.
Yeah, but she leaves when they go get the little wine and the little Christ wafer.
Yeah, so her parents are not next to her.
Yeah.
And her father goes to look for her. And then she comes back into the main aisle of the church, and she is just covered in blood. Covered.
Which I thought it was wine.
Was it wine?
Yeah, because, she went kind of like in the back where they store the little wine things and the little, the little Christ wafers.
That's right.
And then the color of her dress, it wasn't blood color, it was kind of like wine color.
Oh, okay.
Which leads me to believe that this girl just chugged the wine and just get drunk.
Right, and then she just kept saying the body and the blood, the body and the blood.
Yeah, the bloody and the blood.
It was super, super creepy.
And while everybody just and then her dad kind of like ran up to her, but all he wanted to do was kind of like to get her to just quiet down so it wouldn't cause a scene. So
I really don't like Catherine's dad.
Yeah, I don't like their parents.
So they take her to the hospital too, and they meet up with Victor, who obviously is at the hospital as well. And they meet outside while they're trying to take a rest, and they're both like, "Well, I don't know what's going on." They've ripped their fingernails out. They're freaking out, and I love that her mom is so smart, and she's like, well, they're clearly possessed.
They went into the woods
for 3 days.
And she's like, oh, we didn't baptize her or do communion or something when we were supposed to. It's our fault. And then I like that Victor, the main character, he looks at them like, you people are crazy.
You're insane.
So you're telling me that they went into the woods and a demon. They disappeared for 3 days because she does this whole story about Christ. When he died, he disappeared. He was in hell, telling Satan that he was kind of like,
I'm the boss of you.
I'm the boss of you now.
Yeah.
All that stuff. So he goes like, so you're telling me that my daughter, she died, she went to hell.
That's why her feet are burned.
That's why her feet are burned, and then she came back, and she is possessed by a demon, and he does what any normal person would do. He went like, you people need to sleep. You people are crazy.
Sleep.
Yes.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So he heads home to get some sleep himself, supposedly. And Paula kind of confronts him. No, that's not. Oh my God. We missed a whole section.
Mm-hmm. Well, it hasn't happened yet.
No, but something else happened and we missed.
Uh-huh.
So when Angela was missing, I am in love with his neighbor who he boxes with. Yeah. So I can't believe that he did this. So his neighbor comes into his house with a whole group of like priestesses.
Yeah, voodoo priestesses, or
we don't know
if they're voodoo. Is it some kind of priestesses where they're kind of like sage, cleansing her room, cleansing the home, and he's like, man, we don't know. We will try anything.
We'll try anything.
We should try anything and everything.
I know. I could see it on your face when we were watching this movie that you were like, that's such a violation of his home. And I was like, oh,
but Victor did the right thing. I was like, listen, get out of my house.
Get out.
And he was like, okay, I'll get them out. And then he came like, we just have to try things. And he was like, just get out of my house.
But so that's a normal reaction from Victor. But I also love that his neighbor was like, I'm in it.
Yeah, I'm in it. Listen, we'll try church. We'll try spiritualism. Right? We'll try anything to make sure that, everything is okay.
Does anybody who is watching or listening have a neighbor or two that treats you so much like family that if your children are missing or possessed,
they break into your house.
They would come to bat for you so hard. They break into your house. They help you with exorcisms. I don't think that I have those neighbors.
No, we do not.
But I want them. That's what neighborly should mean.
Yes.
That is awesome. So fast forward away from that. You just have to remember that.
Mm-hmm.
So now he comes back and his neighbor Paula is like, I have this book. It's really cool.
Well, not that. Well, yeah, but before that, they have the scene where Paula, since she's the nurse taking care of of his daughter, Angela, so she speaks to him in kind of like the
speaks to Paula
in the voice of Legion.
Right. Oh, wow. Good reference. In the voice of a demon. Mark.
Yeah.
I can't make that voice.
Yeah, and then it kind of like tells her a name, and then she starts, bleeding out of her hoo-ha, and she sees all the blood, and it's like, like, okay, this is weird, and she kind of like gets distraught, and then you don't know why, but then she explains later.
Yeah. So Paula goes and talks to Victor and gives him a book about exorcism and says, I once wanted to be a nun. And
No, but this is another thing, which I say, Victor, he's doing all the right things. There's kind of like no, in this movie, it's not quite that easy to say, okay, how would you survive this movie? What did they do wrong? Because at this point, she tells him, oh, look at, I want you to read this book. And he's like, oh, you religious people, listen, I don't need to read no book. I know all of this. I believed in this. And what did I have? My wife died, and now I have my child. I don't believe in none of that. I won't believe in none of that. Just take a hike.
And he says a really interesting line. She says, you don't believe in God? And he said, I don't believe in the question.
In the question, yes. But then when shown evidence that there's something more, then he's like, okay.
I will consider it.
I'll consider it.
And I will attempt to see if it could help my child.
Yes.
And
which was the story about what that she was going to be a nun.
Yes, which is where she explained, she says, I was going to be a nun all the way up to the point I was about to take my vows, and I broke the laws of being a nun, and I got pregnant, and I chose to not have the baby. And I never told anyone about that.
Or the name that she has chosen.
Or the name that she had chosen to be the nun.
Mm-hmm.
And all of that, your daughter knew.
And she told me.
She told me.
There is no way that anybody knows about that.
Knows. Yeah.
And at that point, he goes like, okay,
yeah.
that's impossible. So I'm gonna look into the book and start reading.
Yeah,
and that's when he reads about the help me and the pictures that they took when she was all cut up. It was the words "help me" cut in her abdomen.
Yes. And he reads that the author of this book is the mother of Regan, who was in The Exorcist 1.
Yes, the first one.
And it's really difficult to advise on survival. I mean, so far, no one is really in danger.
Yeah.
Except for the girl.
Yeah, and at this point, he's treating it correctly. So he's treating it. He took her to the hospital, and the hospital, listen, we need to commit your daughter because she is, I don't know if it clinically insane is a thing. I don't think so.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, they basically say she needs institutional help.
Yeah, she needs care 24/7, and he basically takes her. You can see him kind of like walking through the institution of where she would be,
and he can see how upsetting it is for him. You know,
but he's not saying no. I'm just gonna keep her home. You know, he's letting her have the care that she needs.
Yes. So she's at the hospital. Catherine's parents are not doing so great. They've decided to take their daughter home.
Yeah, we're going to take her home. And at this point, I'm not sure if you realized, we get a montage.
We do. By the way, this movie has several montages, really short, cute montages that are...
This is let's find the lady who wrote the book from the first movie montage.
Yes, it is. And he finds her living in this really cute seaside cabin. And she says that when she lived through the first exorcism, and she makes note that I didn't witness it myself because of sexism.
Yeah, so I was like, I didn't really see anything. I just saw opposition, but I wasn't there. Kind of like they wanted to keep continuity, with the original film. But I wasn't really there. I wasn't in the room. If you want to know, I wasn't in the room because of patriarchy. That's why.
Which I love. But the thing I also love is she says, but I was witness to someone who was being possessed.
Yes.
So she did a ton of research, and she made sure that she knew what exorcism really was from multiple cultures.
Yes.
And what demon possession meant in multiple cultures. And this is the first time in the Exorcism series, the first time in any religious horror movie that we've seen that really talks about the idea that demons and evil and God and good can mean a lot of different things across a lot of different cultures.
Yeah. And it's not something that it's only about Christianity and the Catholic Church and all that. They're just a cog in the wheel. They're just one belief system that has the same thing as many other religions do.
Yeah, and that was by far my favorite part of the entire movie, was that concept. And surviving demon possession, that it's all about that. That's what I believe. Is that, like, it's gotta all be about, like, I mean, I don't really believe that demon possession is real. I just don't.
Therefore, we can buy a little old, timey-wimey doll from the 1800s.
Why do you got to bring it all the way back there?
You don't believe in it, so we can buy a doll made, I don't know, in 1600 or 1700. That has an 18th century 10-year-old boy in it, and we can turn on candles, and we can buy a Ouija board. We can turn off the lights and ask the little boy, what does he want? Because you just stated, and our audience are privy to that you do not believe in it.
Okay, listen to me.
I'm just saying, if you don't believe in it, there is no harm in just trying it out.
You, me, and the audience, we're going to have a powwow right now.
Okay?
Because you all know, and I know, and you know, because you're a smart cookie, that it has nothing to do with what we believe.
Okay.
If I don't believe it, it doesn't mean it's not real.
Like the line in Constantine when he asks the lady, do you believe in the devil? And she's like, no. And then he goes well, you should, because he believes in you. Yeah, that was a really cool line.
Yeah, because it's true. I can believe whatever I want to believe. But if there are forces out there that exist, the number one thing I do believe is that I will be prepared.
Okay.
And I will be smart. That's why this podcast exists for all of us, is that even if I don't believe in demons or exorcism or anything, that doesn't mean that I'm not going to know what to do if supernatural forces exist and I have to outwit them.
I see.
So, we're not getting a demon doll.
Okay, just say.
Or if we are, we're going to make it safe.
Okay.
We're not going to Get a Ouija board, you crazy man.
Just saying.
Just saying. I think this discussion will probably be ongoing.
Yes, until we have a little doll right there.
All right. Okay, so Catherine's family not doing so hot.
No.
They decide to bring her home to like care for her there. So
she's having the same
issues.
Yeah, the same crazy outbursts and everything.
I'm not going to talk about that yet because what's happening over there happens next. So the lady, the mother of Regan, who I think her name is Shelley. I always forget her name. I'm so sorry.
I just know Victor's name.
Right. So bad.
That's the one I remembered.
So I just call her the wise woman. She's very wise. So she goes to Angela, who's in the insane asylum, and it's very clear that Angela is possessed. Mm-hmm. And she sort of...
Are they called the insane asylum? I don't think that's what they're called.
No,
right now.
It is the mental health facility.
There you go.
She's at this mental health facility, and they see each other. She knows who's there, and beforehand they brought a priest. Mm-hmm. And the moment we see this priest, what does he not have?
What does he not have?
A cool hat.
A cool hat. He does not have a cool hat. He does not. First of all, he has cool nothing. He doesn't have a tailored suit. He's all nervous. He doesn't have a cool hat. It looks like he became a priest yesterday, like the day before.
The day before.
He just graduated from preschool the day before.
Not ready for this exorcism. He doesn't have his cool hat. He doesn't have his tailored suit. He's not ready for anything, and he looks like a scared, lost little puppy.
Yes. And then you see a scene with him trying to call the other priest, try to convince them to talk to the Vatican so they can do an exorcism. And they're like, listen, we don't do that no more. No, it's dangerous. You could die. A lot of people could die. We don't want that press. We don't want that publicity.
Yeah.
We're not going to do that. He's like, no, but you didn't see. These are children that, are going to die. And they're like, how about no?
How about no? So after he goes and sees Angela, and they all go see Angela, they all make their way over to Catherine's house.
Right?
And it is basically kind of like a breaking and entering situation because nobody responds, but they see movement in the upstairs window.
Yeah.
And when they see that, what they realize is like, oh, something has gone horribly wrong. So first, they find the dad, who's just basically rocking back and forth in
the bathroom for some reason, in the tub, like praying in the tub.
Right?
I feel like in this part of the movie, they edited out a lot of possession content.
Really?
Yeah, I feel like there was a lot of scenes of what happened with these people that we just don't see.
I wonder why they did that, because the big complaint that people have about this movie is that there's not enough really cool supernatural demon stuff in it. And I mean, that could have been a really interesting opportunity.
It's more kind of like a family dynamic story, not all that much. It's about, families, mothers and daughters, and fathers and daughters, and that dynamic between parent and child.
Yes.
Kind of story. Not really about the possession. Is kind of like on the background, in the back burner.
Well, something that we mentioned on that note is Regan's mother, who wrote this book on exorcism. When she decided to publish it, she realized she had gathered so much information that she wanted to help people. And when she published it, Regan got very upset with her and cut her out of her life because it blew up, and then suddenly her story was published.
Yeah, and so much so that she disappeared, and she disappeared,
and she doesn't even know where Regan is.
Yeah, for years.
So that's obviously very painful for her. But when she goes to see Catherine and her family, the next person that they see is the mother and the two kids the two younger children huddled in the kitchen on the floor. Mm-hmm. And Victor gets them out while, I think her name is Shelley, while the wise woman goes upstairs and sees Catherine possessed, all to the nines,
but see,
reading the Bible.
Here's another reason why I think there's a lot of I think there is footage of this whole scene that was just cut, because when she goes into the room, you can see the bed that they have restraints on the bed. They had her restrained to the bed, but she's not restrained. She's just sitting up, kind of like fondling and reading the Bible and stuff.
Yeah.
So I think that when this comes out on either on streaming or something, I think there's gonna be an
extra scenes,
an uncut version or an unedited version that will have more scenes in this, in this part of the movie.
Maybe there were a lot more scenes about this in the trailer too.
Yes, that weren't in the movie.
So, the demon through Catherine starts to speak to Reagan's mom and tell her that you don't know where Reagan is, but I do. Mm-hmm. She's dead. She's in hell.
Yeah. Here is a good survival tip, right? If you go into a house, right, suspecting that there is a possessed person and you've already encountered this person,
and
don't go alone to where the demon is by yourself.
I would even take it a step further. So you know what the powers of demons tend to be. Most of their dangerous powers is that they can move objects with their mind. That's the pretty mainstay power. I would at least wear like some body armor, so a little bit of padding.
Yeah.
Like a face shield.
Or just a motorcycle helmet.
Yeah, just a couple of things to kind of make sure that if you get struck.
And here's the part where they didn't do quite the correct thing. It's like, oh, there's a problem. Just, call the police. Listen, call someone. Call the ambulance or something.
That's
true. There's a problem in this house. But, they didn't do that. So the lady just gets a crucifix and just stabs her eyes out. It just stabs her. Like, oh, they're going to kill this lady? I thought they were going to kill her.
She has a moment where she, like, moves stuff with her mind, and the crucifix falls, and then she stabs her. And I thought she killed her. Like, she stabbed her hard.
We went pretty far in.
Yeah. It was pretty intense. So they drag the lady away. They take Catherine to the hospital too, I think.
Yeah, because before this happens, Catherine had gone to the mental institutions to see his daughter, and then that's when he asked him, "Oh, where's the other kid?" And they're like, "Oh, they took her home," and she's like, "That's not a good idea."
Right? At this point, they decide they're going to make a plan. Right? She's been stabbed in the eyes. She can no longer participate in this movie.
She does not die, but you could see her that she's just in the hospital.
Yeah.
Getting her eyes fixed.
That's going to be her life for a while.
Yeah.
And they decide they're going to perform an exorcism without the church.
Yes. Well, not at this point. They're gonna the church is that's so. This is when he goes kind of like to the priest not the priest. So they go to the priest. The priest is trying to get the Catholic Church to do it.
The Haitian lady.
They go to the Haitian lady, and they also go to the pastor from their church.
Yes. So it's going to be this whole amalgamation. I love that this is like
of different
team exorcism.
Yes,
from
different
all
religions
of life.
Right.
Everybody.
And then the neighbor that is just blurring out like religious stuff. Right. You're not sure what he believes in. He's just trying everything. Yeah, we were trying anything and everything.
But Catherine's parents are dead set that a priest has to be there.
Yes.
So they set everything up. They do everything right. They screw the
right. You can see it. Damn,
chairs into the floor.
These people are doing the right thing. They take chairs. So they probably followed the book and they read. Oh, they levitate. Right? Oh, they're not levitating these chairs. We're just gonna bolt them to the ground. Yeah. No levitation here.
It was great. So they're all prepared and they bring the girls in. They're all ready, and they're just waiting for the priest. And the priest shows up, and he's like, well, the Vatican said no.
The Vatican said no.
So I can't do the exorcism.
I can't be there, but I want to be there, but I can't. Because, people have died from both sides. And the Vatican doesn't want nothing to do with this.
Yeah.
You should just take them to a mental health institution. It doesn't really talk like this. We're just,
No, it doesn't talk like that at all. But we're assuming that his character is like that.
Yes.
So they start this exorcism, and they have heart monitors, which is really cool.
Yeah, they had everything. They have medicine, and they have different religions. They have different stuff.
They have Bibles.
The lady is with the sage, kind of like blessing the water that she poured. That she had kind of like roses and flowers and petals and stuff.
And the exorcism begins.
Yes.
So they start to pray, they start to get in there, and the demons start to resist. And of course, they start to say really terrible, horrible things. The main people that they really start to affect is Catherine's mom, who just wants to touch her daughter so badly. And
because they said, the priest says, once it starts, you can't touch him.
Right, and you can't stop until it's done.
You can't stop until it's done.
And they start to affect, obviously, Angela's dad.
Mm-hmm.
And she starts to say, you never wanted me.
Yeah, Angela's dad. Well, Victor, he's like, through all this, through everything that's happening, I think he's like, okay, this is happening, but he's not freaking out.
No. Victor is very level-headed.
He has a really strong constitution to possessions.
From The Exorcist, everybody should be like Victor.
Yes.
So, but she starts to tell him, you never wanted me, you wanted mom, and we flash back to realize that when his pregnant wife was dying.
Without hesitation.
He
didn't even think about it. He went, save my wife. Not the daughter, not the kid. He was like, nope, I don't care. Save my wife.
Save my wife.
We have to either save your daughter, save the wife. Save the wife.
Right?
He didn't even think about it. Not even for a second.
Not even for a second.
Which I would have done the same thing. It's like, listen, it's my wife, the kid. We can always try for another kid. Save my wife.
Right? But clearly the wife dies anyway, and the baby survives, and now we've got Angela and the demon accusing.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, and the lady, the one that since the priest wasn't going to do the exorcism, so it was Paula, the nurse that wanted to be a nun. She's the one. Oh, that's why I'm here. I'm the one. I can do it. Yeah. I'm the one who's gonna do the exorcism.
Yeah. And she's really fighting it. She's making it happen.
She's making it happen. But I think the funniest thing, and kind of like a nod to the first film, is what happens here, because they start, you killed your baby, and then the demon looks at her and said, "Did Christ compel you?" That was the funniest line. Where, like, may the power of Christ compel you.
Right.
And she was like, did Christ compel you?
Oh, these demons are hilarious.
Yeah, they are funny.
So, I thought it was really interesting that the lady who they brought in, the spiritual shaman, I think. Mm-hmm. So she pours water over these ladies who are demons, and it's this whole story that I had never heard of, where the water gets poured over a demon and it comes out dirty. And I wonder if that had to do with why the bath water was so gross.
You think she got into water and just
like nasty. Fresh water can.
And I think that before they started, she gave everybody some amulets that she made, kind of like for protection, and everybody puts it on except for the pastor. And the
dad
and
Catherine's dad
and her friend's dad was like, I don't know, and the pastor was like, listen, there's a religion that is not mine. I believe in this quackery, which was like, really?
Okay, yeah. So I thought that was really cool. And then they start coughing up this interesting dust that's going into the air, and they're like,
dust. And at one point, she coughed kind of like a ball
of blood?
Something. They don't go back to it. Right. They don't acknowledge it again after that in the movie.
Right. And so he's like trying to. So they do this cool thing with the fire in order to get the smoke out.
Yeah, because that smoke, I found that really cool. That smoke is kind of like those pictures from the 1920s about mediums. There's a lot of pictures of mediums where there was like possessions of ghosts and stuff that would come out of them. So I think that was a nod to that. It was pretty interesting.
That was really cool. That was a great scene. And then he starts trying to take the dirty water out to dispose of it. And he sees the priest is sitting in the car
just praying.
And you're like...
and he like knocks on it. Like, listen.
The fight's inside.
The fight's in there. What are you doing? You're doing nothing.
So he decides to come in.
Right, but they're still kind of like going at it. She's still pouring the water. And all of a sudden, he comes in like praying, like, oh, and we're like, okay, and everybody's like, yeah, he's a savior.
And thank God you're here.
He puts his hands on the ladies, and then they kill him. They just twist his head 180 degrees. You can see the bone crackling.
Oh my
God! And he just falls on the floor.
And he's
I'm
dead.
like, and at that moment, it's like, how are they going to explain this to the police when the police come? You're all going to prison,
right?
Because the
You've
police
all murdered this priest,
right? It's like, oh no, a demon killed this guy.
Yeah, sure.
Nobody's gonna believe that. But anyways,
so that didn't work.
That
clearly.
did not work.
And
first of all, he didn't follow his own rule to not touch it.
Right? He didn't follow his own rule at all, which was really odd.
Right?
And then the girls start to switch tactics. These demons are like, we're going to have to do something drastic to get rid of these people. So this is something that doesn't really make sense about why this happened, because it seems like if the exorcism wasn't working, they could have just stayed as they were.
Right.
But they say, if you want this to work,
you're going to have to choose. One will live and the other one will die. So you have to choose which one will live and which one will die. And then Victor and the other lady's mother, they look at each other like, listen, we won't choose. We cannot choose. We cannot choose.
And they actually kind of start to work. They start to have, the exorcism starts to work a little because they don't give in.
Again, more rules, for surviving. Never give a possessed demon,
what they want.
What they want. And they were like, no, we're not going to do this. Treat
them like 100% of what they're telling you is a manipulation.
Yeah, yeah.
And I get their own benefit.
During this old part, the demon that's in his daughter looks at Victor because, he's just looking at this like, what is this? This is all bullshit. What's happening here? Yeah. And they look at him like, you're not a believer, and they kind of like, get happy because he believes in none of this.
Right.
Even though he's looking at it, it's happening. He's like, still, this is nonsense.
Yeah. And it's interesting that in the end, then Catherine's dad says, "I choose you."
Yeah, the other guy chooses, but another survival tip. If you're in a situation, right, where a family member or someone is possessed, and everything says that it's not medical or something like that, and you truly believe it's possessed and it's happening, and they're floating, if they're floating and stuff is coming out of their mouths, I would be inclined to believe that these things happen,
that they're possessed.
Yeah, that they're possessed. I would not be incredulous to it. It's like, listen, they're flying, they're vomiting stuff, they're being cut out of thin air. Things are happening. Maybe this possession stuff, maybe it's real.
Yeah.
Maybe we should, believe in it a little bit. Just a tiny bit.
Yeah, maybe we should.
Maybe believing in it will help out.
Like, just follow your own rules that you've set by coming to this gathering.
Yes.
So, of course, he says he chooses Catherine.
Right.
And then we see flashes, finally, this is what I was waiting for, finally, of what the girls are experiencing.
Right. I think that it was really nice, but it was too little.
It was too
short.
And what I was hoping this movie would provide was insight into what it's like to be possessed in this universe, so that more survival tips could come out of it as the possessed person. Because I didn't really see any strategies until this moment. And then the only thing I could see is kind of like faith in yourself, in your family, maybe in God, but I don't know. It was a difficult call because they both had such different experiences. One of them, you saw Angela's before Catherine was picked, and the other one you saw insight after Catherine was picked.
Yeah.
And Catherine experienced when she was picked that everybody was just consuming her. All the demons were just
which was interesting. When the guy picked, he was like, screw this other guy's daughter. I want my daughter, so I choose her. At that moment, Victor's daughter, she flatlined. And then the other kid, she came too like normal. Oh, I'm okay. But it was the ultimate, the ultimate like,
the ultimate switcheroo.
Yeah, the ultimate up yours. You thought I was gonna give you, but no, it's the other way around.
Yes.
He was choosing the one that was gonna be, taken into the depths of hell.
Yeah, and so Catherine dies.
Yes, and then Victor's daughter, she comes too, and she's okay.
And I love that they didn't just end it there like some grisly thing.
Yeah.
They had the police come.
Yeah, and after this, the police came.
The police, and you see a really interesting role of them looking at the girl's fingernails, looking at the fact that they had bloody straps on and were like held down in this whatever this was.
Looking at the priest, like there is a dead body here. Intense. Somebody needs to answer accountable for a dead priest. Yeah.
And murder of a child. Like, it was a lot.
Yeah.
And then we see a scene of Paula talking with the police officer, and I love that their first comment was, "Your lawyer's on her way."
Right? It's like,
oh my God.
Listen, probably, Child Protective Services are going to take your children away.
Yeah, there's a
lot. You got your child killed instead of, putting her in a mental health institution.
There's a lot to unpack there that they don't really go into a lot, but it doesn't really matter because it was explained visually. So Paula makes this really interesting speech about how human beings are meant to be happy and find prosperity and go after what they want. And the only thing that the devil needs to do and wants to do is stop you from trying.
Yeah.
Stop you from trying. So in that...
But they word it in a context not of the Catholic faith, but kind of like
just a humanity.
Yeah, humanity in general thing. Doesn't matter what religion you follow. It's kind of like it's evil versus what you want to do.
And that is a really interesting survival strategy for probably anything that we will cover at all in this podcast. The main thing that you have to keep doing is trying and hoping. Everything, every rule, everything that we could come up with is going to be reliant on that foundation. I mean, I always talk about how surviving horror movies has a lot to do with interpersonal relationships. And like the only way I think to make those really work is to have hope that, like, if you have a bad day, like if we have a bad day, we'll have a better day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and it's just, that's hope. And if you don't believe that, it's kind of like you're going to get possessed.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And then you also see that the lady from the original film, she's kind of like in the hospital. And before in the movie, you see that, she has her eyes covered because, she...
Her eyes gouged out.
Her eyes gouged out. And Victor comes into her and she's like, "Who's there?" And he's like, "Victor, it's me." And okay, they talk. And then towards the end of the movie, somebody opens the door and she's like, "Victor, is that you? Who's there, Victor?" And then it's her daughter,
the original actress from Exorcist came.
Yeah, that was a nice.
That was really sweet.
Nice.
But I think that Catherine's parents have probably split up.
Yeah, they never show you, but they kind of like show you this one shot scene of the guy kind of like in the
Catherine's dad is in a diner.
In the diner with the coffee, like, he's all distraught, all depressed, like he hasn't had a shower, he hasn't brushed his teeth with toothpaste, and then she kind of like walks in with her
bag.
With her purse. It's like, oh, did they get divorced? It's not clear, but like they're separated.
How could you not? Right? You know how they say like something like 80% of marriages don't last a child that dies?
Yeah, but they had 2 more children, which they're never seen again in the film. I guess those okay, maybe yeah, they took them, most probably.
But my point is, like, in this scenario in particular,
because he's the one that chose.
One who chose. And they told him specifically,
"We will not choose.
We will not choose. Don't listen to the demon."
Yeah, and
don't
and the lady was like, "We will not choose."
Right.
But he was like, "No, I chose my daughter."
And I like that he did it from cowering behind a
wall, right?
Like, it's like, dude, No one's going to ever have respect for you ever again.
So I think in this film, Victor did everything right, I think, through the whole film.
Yeah.
Through the whole film. So, no, a couple of pointers, but some pointers, in surviving this film in particular. First of all, if you go to a house where someone's possessed, don't lock yourself in a room with them because you will get your eyes gouged out.
Yeah.
That's
probably going to happen.
Probably going to happen, If the one with the kids, they're kids. Kids do crazy stuff. I never went into a sewer to try to contact, the
dead relative.
Yeah, a dead relative or nobody else. So I'm not sure how many youth do that. I don't know how many Zoomers would do that.
Well, I think that anyone who's lost someone, I had 2 sisters who died many years ago. I didn't know them. And when I was young, I used to attempt to conjure them.
Oh.
When I was a little girl, I would go into the backyard and I would make up rituals to try and see if I could build a new sister or build them back to be in my life.
So it is a thing.
I think it's a thing, you feel like a connection that it doesn't exist. And I don't know, I think that's just natural and normal. When I think there's got to be a better outlet for that kind of stuff, but I don't know. Maybe it's just something that kids do.
Yeah.
So,
and ultimate survival tip for this movie: if possessed demons tell you to choose, don't do it. Yeah. Don't choose because they're gonna pull a fast one on you.
Well, nothing a demon says can you trust.
Right.
I'm going to say this as I'm going to put this up there as rule number 3, unless a movie proves us wrong.
Golden rules.
Okay,
always get upset. Anger trumps fear 100% of the time.
That's rule number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Rule number 2 is if you feel something creepy. This is sort of preemptive.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to call this rule number 1 because this is if you first feel something is
right.
off.
Yeah. If you see a ghost walk by or little kids, 18th century, 10-year-old boy just walking by, or a nun behind a tree at night in a cemetery walk by carrying a noose. What's the rule?
Well, I would say even the small things, like if you start to smell rotting dead flesh and there's inconsistency in the temperature of your house.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's not your business.
That ain't your business.
So,
go to the car.
Following that rule, you have 7 minutes. You get to the car. You call every member of your family in the house and you say, you've got 7 minutes to get to the car. Otherwise, I'm leaving.
Mm-hmm.
You don't stop for them. They will meet you.
Right.
Then
you have a designated spot where you're all going to meet.
You wait 7 minutes and you don't go to a hotel. It's not that extreme yet. You go get ice cream. It's enough time where if there's a supernatural entity, they will do their thing and get out. If it's a burglar, they do their thing, they get out.
Right? And you're safe.
You're safe.
You're safe eating ice cream somewhere.
Right? Then rule number 2, there is an entity. It's there 100%. It's coming at you whether you want it to or not.
You get upset because anger trumps fear 100% of the time.
Right? I'm going to also say, now rule number 3,
mm-hmm.
You cannot trust anything that a demon says or does as being true.
Yeah, that's basically what happened with Talk to Me. That's what happened
with this movie.
With this movie and The Nun.
Yep.
Just they lie.
They lie.
Demons lie.
Demons lie. That should be the rule.
Right? Demons lie. Right? You heard it in your first. Yeah, demons lie.
Nowhere else, when people have said demons lie, is it true. Now it's really true.
Yeah. And toothpaste will help you.
Right. Toothpaste could save your life. Yeah.
How about you, listeners? Did you survive? Would you have survived The Exorcist? What was
Believer.
It? Believer? The Exorcist Believer?
The Exorcist Believer?
Overall, I really enjoyed the film. I can see why a lot of people don't like it. It's only been, 2 days that the movie came out?
Go see it.
I enjoyed it. I think it was a fun film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was honest, good, old-fashioned horror.
Yeah. So if you guys survived, or if you didn't, or if you think you have tips or better rules to surviving The Exorcist or any of the horror movies that we've covered, leave us a comment. Leave a comment down below, you know.
Yes, and if you have a request for a movie that we should cover, please let us know in the comments below. Be safe, be vigilant, and be the last one standing.
Always.